Hello, today I'm looking at a Hungarian dry white wine. In this case it's a wine called Furmint and Hun, the 2020 vintage of that. I'll make sure that it's on and show you the label so you can read the detail there. This is a wine from a very well-known winery, István Szepsy, although it's a project that's been developed by his son also, István Szepsy, so István Szepsy Jr. The Szepsy family have a very long history, and they're quite important influencers in the Tokaj region. So we're in northeastern Hungary, at the bottom of the Carpathian Mountains. And the Szepsys can trace their history, they believe, back to the 1500s in this region. And it's certainly in 1631, one of their ancestors is the person who was first to document the production process for making of Tokaj aszú, the sweet wine of this region. They can trace their heritage on 18 generations to where we are at the present, with István Szepsy and his son István Szepsy Jr. István Szepsy himself, István Szepsy Senior, was running the communist cooperative cellars in the town of Mad, where they are, in the early 90s, before the fall of communism, when the Hungarian government allowed people to actually hold land. And so he started buying small plots of vineyards, I mean sort of 1 or 2 hectares at a time, and actually managed to procure some of the best vineyards in Tokaj. And Tokaj has a long established system of having Premier Cru, Grand Cru vineyards classified. And what that means is that over time they built up some of the best vineyard assets of any winery in the region. I think they've got something like 65 hectares of vines, which is a fair amount now. And that means that this wine can be made from grapes that have come from 5 of the named crus of Tokaj. I won't try to pronounce them. My Hungarian would probably offend some people who actually speak the language. But yes, so from 5 really good vineyards, they've collected quality fruit, and it's been fermented in stainless steel tanks. I believe the wine undergoes a partial malolactic conversion, and I assume it has some lees aging. I don't see any obvious signs, and there's nothing in the technical sheets about it having aged in wood, but possibly it spent some time in old wood. I don't know. So let's have a look at the wine and see what we think. First thing to say, pale to medium lemon yellow. I mean, there's a nice intensity to the colour, but it's not deep. It's not particularly throwing heavy tears on the glass. It's only 13% alcohol according to the bottle, so that's not particularly high alcohol. So let's have a smell there. So that's giving me some of the classic aromas I was expecting from Furmint. Really, what's driving these aromas are a sort of a minerality. There's by minerality, what do I mean? I mean sort of there's a steeliness, a flintiness. Not so much the sort of wet stone that sometimes comes into it, but maybe a tiny touch of sort of chalkiness, those sort of attributes. Having said that, there is a lovely concentration of fruit there as well. Not necessarily huge, but there's a certain profound intensity to it. And what's showing is that there are notes of sort of lime blossom, perhaps a touch of lime, maybe slightly less ripe pear. And then underlying that and rounding it all out nicely, there's a tiny sort of touch of creaminess, a dairy note that would, suggest that the wine has had a bit of time with its lees in the aging before being bottled, just to round it out a bit and give it a bit of creaminess. So let's taste it. Gosh, and that's really showing why Furmint is such a fantastic contributor to Tokaj aszú, because there's a wonderful crispness to it, a really steely acidity. This is quite a lean wine, which is mouth-watering but without being tart. So it has high acidity, but I'm assuming that the partial malolactic conversion that it's had has taken that sort of tart green edge off the acidity. So lovely pure acidity is the first thing. But underlying that, to stop it just being battery acid, there's a lovely, again, concentrated fruit, not big, not rich, but with a purposeful intensity of sort of green pear, maybe a touch of quince, maybe through to a limey end of that sort of spectrum. Quite green fruit, not tart, but with lovely freshness, and that freshness is keeping the flavours alive to the end, where there's a citrus, a lime note, a lifted blossom note, and the flavours are lasting really well. I think this is a wine that would age really nicely. I mean, I think you could age this for up to 10 years. It's got such lovely acidity and such a concentration of this quite restrained fruit. Those sound contradictory, but the wine has got such lovely poise. All its elements are sitting there so nicely together that I think this will age beautifully, and the fruit will round out. It'll gain a little more richness. It might become slightly oily, and really start showing some greater complexity. But a really lovely wine, showing very nicely now. So thank you for watching, and if you've found this interesting, do join us again. That was Furmint and Hun 2020 from the István Szepsy winery. Bye now.